Hey, welcome back to All Dragon Adventures. I'm Scott Kegler,
And I'm Rob McPherson.
and this is our top 10 games of all time. So, welcome back. This is actually, we're filming this at the beginning of 2025, but every year we try to revisit our top 10 games of all time, each of us, games that have shifted around for us, and it's interesting to see how our tastes have changed year after
Year
year.
by year, Pub Meeple becomes more of a chore.
Yeah, so so we got a chance. We use Pub Meeple. It's great to be able to do rank choicing. Rank choice? Sure. Those are words. But it allows you to
Push buttons and it tells you what's your favorite game.
thingy thing. But yeah, so we use that to help us list, and then we do some curation, each of us, and then we bring this list together every year. And it's really been interesting the last 4 years that we really dive deeper into the hobby as things have changed for us.
Games. My first top game of all time was Betrayal Legacy, which I don't even know if I would consider that in the running anymore because it's a legacy game and they fall off the list so fast.
Yeah, it's one of those games, like, I've never played Legacy, but it's just one of those games, like, I don't really play much of that type of game anymore. It's like, it's arguably kind of almost like party game adjacent in some ways, but
Yeah,
so we just,
absolutely.
not to be snobs, but we are snobs, a little bit, about certain games, so it's just interesting how things have changed. We talked a lot about in our Best of 2024 video how it was like a crazy good year for heavy Euros, so that definitely had some influence, I think, on me as a player. I've had so much fun. But with that, we'll talk a little bit about our honorable mentions. We have what we're calling our up-and-comers for a game of 2024 that we think has a chance to continue to maybe crack into our top 10s. And then we'll go through our top 10s.
Cool. So what do you got on your honorable mention list?
So honorable mentions for me, one game has appeared before in other lists of mine. Hasn't quite cracked the top 10, but it's there, is Nova Roma. It's still a game I love a lot. I think what keeps it from, it's an honorable mention because the game is fantastic. What keeps it off my list, I think going further, is it just, sometimes the theme isn't very strong. I just like the mechanics of the game.
Gotcha.
And my other honorable mention is great theme, kind of lighter game, but that would be For Glory, the deck building game of fighting gladiators.
Play that.
It's so good. It's really good.
You should rave about it, and I have not played it.
I've probably played like 30 something games of it just this year, and it's so much fun. But again, it's a great introduction to deck building and just so thematic.
Nice. Nice. So yeah, for me, it's going to be Fractured Sky, which I'm actually a little surprised didn't crack my top 10 because it really.
I feel like it's just scratching.
I think it was like number 11. If I'm being honest, I only wrote.
It's my favorite IV Studios game.
Yeah, same. It's so much fun. The blind bidding, and I think it's just the bespoke components that we have. I think just elevates it.
Those magnets are so solid for that game because it also keeps you from accidentally showing something. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the base game you can get it with cardboard pieces, and I'm like, I just don't know if it'll be the same experience.
No, the magnets are I think needed in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one is From the Moon, which is from, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. It's a French name. I apologize. From the board game company, the designer company. But that one, it's a great worker crafting kind of game where your worker goes out, but you have different colored meeples or astronauts.
Kind of like Darwin's, or what's the other one that does?
Yeah,
played where you manipulate your workers.
Yeah, we just played one recently.
I know I can't think of it.
I can't think of it, but we made the comparison.
Worker crafting, yeah.
Yep. But anyways, I really like it. That one I didn't let crack my top 10 for a couple reasons, but one of the main reasons is because I played it multiplayer once only, but I played it solo most of the time, so I'm like, I don't know if that really qualifies just yet. We try to keep our solo exclusive games off of this list.
You've also got such a passion for sci-fi games. I feel like it becomes hard to tell.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. I'm like, is it really just because the theme or really like the game? So it's a great game, fantastic, love it, but I'm just not sure about where it is.
Awesome. And then the other thing we were looking at, as I said, is up-and-comer games. So these are specifically from 2024.
Yep.
If you saw our video on Best of 2024, these games are from there. Both of us had at least one game we felt like,
I think they're both our number one games.
I think they are too.
Which makes sense. About it. Yeah.
So a similar situation where we've both played these a few times now, but haven't played it enough where we decided that it's going to knock into the top 10, but it has a strong chance to future state. So what was your up-and-comer of 2020?
My up-and-comer is going to be Shackleton Base, which is right behind me right here. This is a fantastic game. I think you can start getting it in the U.S. now. Maybe not. Zatu Games, great place to get anything that's still over in England only type of arena. It's like an on Mars from the moon kind of blend. You're building up a moon base in Shackleton Crater, and I just really love how the corporations play into it in its mod.
I like Lacerda's, but I actually think it's better than on Mars right now.
Yeah, all right.
We'll see how future plays goes, but I really liked it. I like the puzzle of the.
You're gonna like it even more now because I 3D printed the domes.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the bespoke pieces.
Well, I like the whole like, intersection kind of thing. I love that in games where I can like I'm very visual with that kind of stuff. My upcomer,
not when we played.
Oh. Yeah. Also, one I think you've only played once. I've played multiple times. Is Saint Corey or Saint. I can never say it right. It's like Saint Corey or whatever. It's Saint Corey. It is a game by I think Osprey Games.
Our Anglo-Saxon.
I know. We're like. So it is a game where you're playing different schools or different parts of the major university where you are trying to have your best students basically to get the most amount of prestige at your school. What I love about it is that it's an ever-shifting game of like, sure, I get prestige points, but what are they worth at the end of the game? Because they're just tokens, and they have a value set at the end of the game, but it's constantly evolving throughout the game. And it's a game that is highly interactive for a heavy Euro, where everyone's actions are...
Again, it's not always aggressively interactive. Like, there's a lot of times where it's officially interactive.
Well, that's what I love. You're all small schools, and anything you do affects the major university. So if you make math, you get really good at math, but you're also making... Yeah, well, it's a resource or whatever. If he's doing the math courses, and his students are getting really good at it, yes, he's stronger at it, but the boards are better too. But the teachers are better at the school, so I can start getting into math later game, and I may not be able to catch you, but I can still play in that activity.
Right. Yeah.
So, excellent game.
Again.
Yeah.
So expect both of those to be coming out as full reviews in the very near future, where we'll talk about it even more than we just did rant about it. But so we don't make this video into a 2-hour-long video, let's go ahead and dive into our top 10 of all time.
So coming in at my number 10 of all time is a game that I didn't know if it would make it into my top 10 this year, because I only started playing it at the beginning of this year, but I got quite a few plays of it in solo, some 3-player, definitely a lot of 2-player of it, and that is Darwin's Journey. So Darwin's Journey is my number 10, but with a caveat, like another game that'll come up later on my list, it really needs to have the kitchen sink thrown at it. So it is a fantastic game, but there are about 7 mini expansions that come with the game. Sorry, 1 large expansion, like 6 mini expansions. With everything involved, it is a really fun game of, we were just talking about worker crafting, so you're changing your workers throughout the game. And as I come to learn with playing it more and more, so much value of being like, what actions do I want to pay for to be in the game? And then get easier access to it. It's a big part of like just manipulating your end score. And the Fireland expansion makes adventuring through the islands way more fun.
It's interesting that cracked your top 10 because there was about a month period where it was on your sell pile, then you broke it out again.
Yeah.
And I remember it shot off your sell pile.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It's a lot to it. It's just, but I keep coming back to it, and that's why it cracked my top 10 this year. It's just, I love it. That's Darwin's Journey.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I really like it. I got to play it again. I've only played it once.
Yeah, they have a new expansion kickstarting this week, actually. Well, we're filming this anyway.
Sorry for your wallet.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so my number 10 is going to be an older one. We found it late, but have loved it ever since we started playing it. It's going to be Orleans. I love my bag builder games. I think that's pretty obvious on this channel at this point. And it's kind of the quintessential mid to heavyweight bag building experience. It's pretty straightforward. You're drawing your workers from your bag, and you got to get combos of specific workers in order to do the different actions, including building more workers into your bag and claiming resources from the map, and a little bit of an area control on the council board, right?
Yeah. It's a bit of area control and also quick resource grabs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a nice blend of mechanics. It's not too heavy, but it's got enough of a brain burn, and it's got just enough luck so that it feels rewarding when you get it, but there's so much mitigation too. It doesn't.
Well, unlike Wonderland's War or Quacks, it doesn't have unless you had Plague. The expansion, it doesn't have a punishing draw. Like you might not get what you wanted.
Yeah, there's like busting.
Right, exactly. So I love Orleans. It's good.
Like another one we got to break out again.
Yeah,
we're gonna say that for every single game on this list. So that's my number 10.
Number 9. So my number 9 of all time right now is a game that had kind of again fallen off my list, and then recently had I think, crawl back up there. It's just a game I liked, but has one of the greatest table presence of any game I've ever played, and that is Foundations of Rome. Foundations of Rome is an excellent game for I play it solo, but it's really for 2 to 5 players. I adore the game. There's no other game that you play when you're getting towards the end of it. People are walking by, you're playing it at a convention or a store, a game store. People are like, what is this? Because it looks astounding.
Yeah.
Sure, there's Foundations in Metropolis. I'm sorry, it's just not as much fun as putting those gigantic, a lot cheaper, but it's really fun putting those big buildings out there. And I like, for me, gamifying the civics buildings and understanding how to play buildings as your polyomers against other buildings.
Yeah, and I don't think the announcements are official yet, so I can't say anything more than look out for some new games from them along that same series. I'm very excited about what they were previewing to us.
Absolutely.
So, all right, my number 9. This one again new to us this year, not new to the genre, not new to the industry. We picked. Scott picked up the deluxe copy of it, and we immediately fell in love with it, and that's going to be Teotihuacan, City of Gods. So this is a dice rondel worker game where you are moving your dice around.
Dice worker rondel. They also evolve them, and they ascend.
And they ascend when they hit the number 6. So it's like you want to make them more powerful, but you got to wait and not really cap out too early, because you will push the end game like Sean has done to us multiple times.
You also have to pay for the stronger they are, depending on if you get to the end of an eclipse. Yeah, so they're more expensive to maintain
more, which that tracks.
Yeah.
But no, it's just this fantastic playground. It's again another one of our favorite things. It's super modular. We haven't started adding the modules in yet, but we're already shopping for the ones for our next play.
This was like right at the
It's I'm actually a little surprised it wasn't a little bit higher on my list. But it's such a great game. It beat out Zolkin as another one of the T games.
Yeah, right there.
But it's a great game. Great game. Definitely check it out. You don't need the deluxe copy, but you need the deluxe copy.
It's so good. Awesome. So our number 8 game of all time, mine is one that is actually a game from 2024 and has just gotten a lot of play at our table. I've played it solo. It has one of my favorite board game artists involved, so I just find the art delightful in the whole world.
I've narrowed it down to 4 in my head.
Yeah.
What you're gonna say.
and this is part of the 5 Realms world. This is Bardwood Grove. Actually, a Connecticut designer, is just so much fun. It's one of my favorite deck building games because it is the activity of being able to just auto play cards is just such
momentum is so good.
Yeah, like by the time you're like finishing like singing, which is your major action of the game, you're like cleaning up and like no, you can go as I'm cleaning up, and by the time I've like reset everything and I've auto played a few cards, they're like, oh, it's your turn again. You're like, oh wow, okay.
Much to the chagrin of the animals in the house, we do have a house rule that we do have to sing that we're singing.
It's just exactly like I don't. Neither of us are really like super musically inclined. Like,
no, I wouldn't hate to sing.
Yeah, but like it's just one of those things. Like we're not. I wouldn't consider us like serious music. But like the fact that I'm that invested in a game that's primarily about singing, crafting your song, but hey, asymmetrical characters, big map with things to do, just. It's very thematic and very fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to hear about it again. So my number 8 of all time, this one is one of the heaviest games in my collection. I absolutely love it. I know you don't like it quite as much, although you do enjoy it, and this can be Tricarion.
So I like winning it.
Yeah, I win it every time by so much. I honestly think that theme elevates this one for me a lot. And I know that you say you feel the theme less.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, I like a lot of Mind Clash games. It's not my favorite Mind Clash game.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. But I mean, I've loved Stage Magician since I was a really little kid. So this one just kind of has a special place in my heart. And I really love the puzzle of playing the actual performances.
And setting up the trick.
Setting up the trick. I'm not good at it. I'm not bad at it. Like there are games that I'll be like, no, I like this game, but I'm garbage. But this one, I'm middling. But I did play it solo recently, which I added Dalgard's Academy, which I really got to get over for us to play with Dalgard's Academy because it elevates the game a lot. It adds extra actions and extra playgrounds to you to play in. So I think it really, really adds a lot. Fantastic game. Again, it's Mind Clash. Mind Clash is a company that is near and dear to my heart. At one point, I owned every single one of their games out. I did recently sell Voidfall because we just don't play the 4Xs anymore.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's my 8.
Number 7, game of all time. Let's see here. I have this one has been on my top 10 for a long time. It shifts around a little bit. It is deeply thematic, which is why it is one of my favorite. You don't get to play it very often because it's an experience. And this is a almost role play adjacent type game. And this is Western Legends. I absolutely adore this game. This is again where I kitchen sink throw as much as I can into it for expansions. But
even though we never play, what's the other game other than poker?
oh, Pharaoh, yeah, yeah.
Never touched.
Very rarely play Pharaoh, but like poker's is so much fun. We were talking about just the other night. It's one of those games where highly interactive in a fun way, where I get engagement off turn because like if I'm in the town you're in and poker comes up, I can play.
Right.
But you can be robbing each other across the table. You can be chasing down bandits. You do everything you want. You get to be a cowboy. You get to be a lawman. Whatever you want to do. I have so much fun. It is a very light game, even though there's like 9 or 10 different actions you can do. So there's some complexity to it, but it's essentially a sandbox Western game.
And what's nice is that you'll never be able to take all of those actions on a single space that you're on. So like you do have like limited selection. So it's more of a decision space. But then once you're on your turn, you're like, okay, I get one of these 3 actions or one of these 4 actions, which I think helps it a lot.
Yeah,
so I'm actually shocked. I was just looking back down at my list. I'm actually shocked it did not crack the top 10.
It's so much fun.
Because I know you and I had gone back and forth with that and Zaya quite a bit, and Zaya fell so far down my list this year after the last play.
We talked about it. I think Western Legends is just less mean.
Yeah.
But
it did hate me.
They say yeah,
so much.
Very popular at our table, Western Legends. That's my number 7.
Yep. So my number 7. So this one we've only played it multiplayer once. I've played it solo. I don't even know how many times at this point, but I did really like when we played it multiplayer. This is going to be Revive. So this is post-apocalypse, which again, another one of my themes that I love, but you are emerging from caves and re-exploring the world after this big apocalypse. There's relics that you can explore, and it's just a really tight economy because you are playing cards that get slotted into your machine one of 2 ways, either the top half or the bottom half, or later on you can slot it into the side, which lets you choose either way. And it dictates what resources you get, what actions you get to take. The player board is really fun because it is a machine that you're kind of traveling through. I just think it's a really, really fun game. I didn't like it solo the first time I played because I thought the action economy was too tight. But then once we played it multiplayer, I went back to it and I played it like 9 times in a row.
Wow.
It was just, I really, really like it. I did pick up the expansion Call of the Abyss. I have not gotten a chance to play through that yet. I wanted to finish the campaign in the first box. Basically, it's just unlocking extra rules.
Right. Okay. I need to give it another shot.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's number 7s. Number 6, games of all time. My number 6, I know is going to cross over with you. I'm not sure where. I'll try not to look at your list here. It is one of my favorite tactics. Kind of D&D itch. It scratches that itch of D&D. It's I love VR. Some people are kind of turned off by VR, but I think it's kind of becomes an acquired taste.
It grew on me.
And it
grew on me.
But I just love heavier dungeon crawl type game, adventure game with tons of asymmetry, and that is Too Many Bones. Probably one of my most large bespoke games in my collection. I have nearly everything. Anything I don't have, he has.
Yeah, I like it because I can put it to a single cube on my KLAC.
Yeah.
And say that, yep, that right there, that is $700 worth of game.
I wish mine were only $700.
I'm estimating because I don't want to do that.
But it's one of those. You either love it or people bounce right off of it. But I absolutely adore it. I love for a game that involves so much dice rolling, so Too Many Bones, so much dice rolling in that. Even failures,
The mitigation.
The mitigation engine is amazing. So I miss, but then I have my backup plan, which is so much fun. And I love watching, like either playing a solo and two-handing a couple characters, or watching a group of 4 people at a table min-max what we can do with all our cool abilities, and watching like somebody that I'm like, I haven't played that character in a while. I don't remember how he works, but it's so cool to watch you master it.
Right.
It's just a blast at the table. That's Too Many Bones.
So good. And yes, you will hear about that again.
Figured that one.
Yep.
Number 6.
My number 6, this one actually did surprise me a little bit. I think that because I got the new box for it recently and kind of just broke it out to look at it and resort it, it reminded me a lot of the fun that I do have with it, and it's going to be Endless Winter Paleo Americans. It is at its core, it's a worker placement game, but it's very, very limited in terms of where you can place your workers. There's only 4 or 5 different spots you can put them in. And what they do is they enable the other mini games in the game.
Right.
There's like an area control section. There's a tableau build section. There's a deck build section, which is a huge part of it. At least the way I play.
Right.
Maybe not for everyone. There's also a drawing, like you get a dry erase board. For one of them, which is just like a pattern type of game.
Cave drawings, right?
Cave drawings.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's a fantastic game. It's a lot of fun. Haven't played it in a while. We need to break it out again soon. But this one just again, like I thought it was to go away, and then when I got the new stuff for it, I'm like, no, I really, really like this one.
Nice. Awesome. So that's number 6. Number 5, getting down there. Number 5 favorite game for me is going to have to be my favorite game to teach, actually. At conventions, when I meet people introduced to the hobby, I don't know why, just a game that really clicks. I love just going through it, how it works, because it's one of my favorite cascading actions to in a game, and that is the White Castle from Devere. This is such a tight puzzle where you really need to figure out how everything's going to play off each other. You only get 9 actions in the core game, 12 with the new expansion, but you have to make all of them count because it doesn't go round and round. After 9 turns, you're just done.
Yeah.
So you have to make the most of it. I love the look of the game. It's very pretty. I've deluxified it a little bit. I absolutely adore the White Castle.
I'm really interested to play it with the expansion now because I always find the 9 to be a little bit too tight for me, but that's because I kind of like to explore and poke things, and so focusing my ADHD is a little tricky for me.
I think that's part of why I like it. That it's just it's done. I think we've talked about I like teaching it at conventions instead. I can get us out of here in an hour and a half.
Right.
I can teach a nice medium weight Euro in that much time and get a full play in with 4 players.
Yep.
I think is a testament to how it.
We proved that we can play one of my favorite games in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Much to everyone's surprise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're taskmasters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's White Castle's my number 5.
Nice. So my number 5, not going to go into it too much because we've already talked about it. It's going to be Bardwood Grove. It's such a fun game. I love deck builder, so that's it elevates it there for me. The theme is great. The theme feels like it is there, and you do have a lot of different paths towards victory.
I think it's my favorite utilization of the Miko's art too. And I think about it, I think it just is kind of quirky, cutesy things. It works really well in a hard world with fantasy characters.
Yeah, and I think that's why it works so well in Merchant's Cove too. But I think it's better with Bardwood.
Yeah,
because it's more focused.
It's more focused, but I mean it's the same world with Merchant's Cove. So, and actually, I love a nice crossover testament to Bardwood Grove. The Kickstarter edition I have with the ability to play the Bard in Merchant's Cove is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, so much fun.
So that's my number 5.
Number 4. My number 4 is a game that has always been in my top 10. Has moved around a little bit. I was worried it was going to fall off, but played it again earlier this year. We just played the newest materials from it the other night, and this is the kind of the ultimate for me for dungeon crawl game that has the most cinematic moments of any board game, and that is Cthulhu Death May Die. There's no other game I've ever seen where you can watch a group of people, and I'm not the only person who said this. I've seen other people talk about the game and review it, where the dice roll and everyone jumps up shouting in this game. It is that exciting of a dungeon crawl where you it's always a nail biter ending to the game.
I especially find it funny when you roll 6 successes against a cultist.
Yeah. But it's so exciting when you take down Cthulhu or Dagon, we're gonna die. Or just 2 turns before you're we're all dead. We're gonna die.
Or Neb and
Yeb or whatever. Nug and Yeb or something like that.
Yeah.
But either way, it always feels like you're going to die, and when you win, it comes out of nowhere, and it's so satisfying.
Although we stomped Dagon last.
We did the other night. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had so much fun playing the new unknowable content. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Houdini was awesome. And that's the other thing. You have the game where you can play
Just you have now, you've got to have like 45 characters.
Gotta be something like that between the two. I got the because I only ever had Kickstarter and hunted down other copies from season 2.
Yep.
Now I just have pretty much everything except for the Fearless stuff that'll be coming out next year. Which I'm gonna wait for retail. I didn't end up backing. It's so much. I already have so much Cthulhu, but it's fantastic. But the games can sometimes feel tired. That one always feels fresh.
Yeah,
I love Cthulhu.
I mentioned it. It's like we like it because we don't tend to play it like every week. We probably only play it once every 6 to 8 months, and that's kind of perfect because you just do a whole night of it. It's a cinematic night, and then you're like, okay, let's shelf this for a little while now.
And I've never lost a game like so hard. Sometimes I'm like, oh my god, that was so much fun. Reset it.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Oh yeah, we've lost games so hard. Like we've lost games on the second round, but it's so funny at that point that it's great to refresh.
Yeah. So that's my number 4.
My number 4, again, already mentioned it for exactly the same reasons that Scott said. This is going to be too many bones. This one actually kind of surprised me in terms of when we first started playing it because I thought it was going to be a solo-only game. And I still like it solo, but I much prefer it either 2-player, each of us playing 2 characters, or a full 4-player experience. It opens up the game so much. It's so much more fun. There's some great moments in it. The humor that's written into it is so good.
I feel like the ROI is better too when you play it in those ways. So
I agree. I'm a little afraid of what's going to happen to that one on my list in the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, Elder Scrolls. So that we played that. We got a full playthrough of it last year. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Or
so
year before last.
So good. So good. Can't wait. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Number 3. So my number 3 was also previously a number 1 on my list, but has knocked down a little bit. It still is. We played it not too long ago. I want to say like a couple months ago. We revisited it. I'm like, yep, still love this game. I try to say that and I sometimes get grief because it's definitely not the heaviest in their catalog, but it's just near and dear my favorite of the Garfield games, and that is Raiders of the North Sea. It is, to me, like the most innovative worker placement, or one of the most, I wouldn't say the most innovative, but one of the most innovative worker placement games of being like seamless. We were just talking about earlier on the list of like Barbara Grove, where I'm finishing my turn in Raiders sometimes, and you're like, and Sky's your turn again. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so much fun to be like, place a guy, take a guy, place a guy, take a guy. It just keeps moving, trucking along.
Times where you had your turn planned out and you look up and somebody moved a meeple around and you're like, I can't do what I've been planning.
Well, like, it's slightly strategic, but it's mostly a tactical game where you like have to work with what you have. But it's very thematic. Some people complain about but that's why there's a variant draft rule in the rule book about your starting cards. But I'm like, honestly, that to me is minor. I just absolutely love the game. Again, like Darwin's, I mentioned earlier, this is a kitchen sink. I need both expansions in the game to really elevate it. Otherwise, I would flip to Raiders of Scythia as the variant for this because that basically has all of it. But I prefer theme and the bespoke components of Raiders of the North Sea.
Yeah, this one was tricky on my list because of Raiders of Scythia versus Raiders of the North Sea. I don't really know how to deal with that on my top list because they're the exact same game with different theme and slightly
different mechanics.
Content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, fantastic game. I absolutely love it.
Scythia's better solo, and that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. So my number 3, this was a little bit higher on my list in the past, but something is knocked out up on my list a little bit more. So this is going to be Meeples and Monsters by AEG. This one, again, I picked it up because it was the idea of bag building with meeples, and I had very low expectations out of this, except for it'd be a little bit of fun. It is so good, and it's so highly thematic.
I've never played it.
Yeah, I've got to get it over. I've got to play it. I mean, all I'll say about it is the theme is so strong. The cleric that you get to play on your mat, it's a meeple. Everyone's meeples. All the characters are meeples, and his healing package is he's got a bottle of wood glue.
Oh, nice.
Like, what else do you need to know about it? Really, really solid game. It helps that I'm freakishly good at it. Like I destroy everybody at it every time we play, and I don't even really know how I do it. Part of it is it does have the thing that I really love. It's got the end game quest that you can do to rack up points. So like sometimes I'm like, and 42 extra points.
Yeah, nice.
So just fantastic game. I absolutely love it. I'll play it anytime. That's never leaving my collection.
Awesome. Number 2. So we're getting down to it. This game was previously my number 3, I think, for 2 years in a row, and it finally bumped up to number 2. To me, this is one of my favorite entry points for people that talk about like wanting to get into the Euros a little bit. I'm like, hey, for $20, you can get into this game. For $40, you can get into this game in the expansion, which you really should. This is their best game in their entire catalog. This is from Cosmos. That is Targi. Targi and Targi expansions. This is again a kitchen sink where I want everything. This game is, for me, like a perfect 2-player. I love how the action selection works when you're placing your meeples. We jokingly refer to the game as also called You Jerk, because literally half the game you're just being like, wow, you jerk, you just took my space. But it's back and forth. I play this all the time throughout the year.
So we used to play it a decent amount when you first
I played it wrong, horribly wrong.
Also wrong, but I really liked it. But then you and Sean started playing it like 5 times a night for like a couple of months at one point, and I can't play with them again because I'm terrified of how much
we play it quite a lot. We're very competitive with it, and it's just it's so good. And it's one of these games too. For such a cheap game, you can go on like BGG store and deluxify the components. I got a neoprene mat off of Etsy, so like I took this very cheap game to get into and made it much more expensive. But that's what I love about it, though. But I refer to people all the time that they want like a medium weight game that they can play. Maybe they just want to play with their spouse, their partner at home. This is a perfect game to get into, again, for $20.
Right.
If you hate it, you can give it away for nothing. It's absolutely love Targi.
Yeah, but solid game. Again, just terrified to play with it. My number 2 of all time. This used to be my number 1. It got bumped this year, which surprised me at first, but then I thought about it and not so much. This one will also never leave my collection because I think that it would result in divorce. This is going to be Wonderland's War. Bag building, area control, highly thematic in terms of the Wonderland. Just really solid game. They made some tweaks to the player mats in this latest Kickstarter, which work really well. They added new things with the madness, which I think add a lot of fun. I don't play with the mad Wonderlandians as much because they're much meaner. And I don't think the game needs to be much meaner.
Very much as area control.
Yeah, exactly. But the other little experiences that you get out of the madness, I don't remember if it's Into the Madness or something like that, is the name of the little mini expansion. But really solid game. I will play it anytime. I say I'll play it anytime. I'll play it anytime that I've got like 3.5 hours to play, because we did play it in that 2.5 hours once, but that was an anomaly. Like all of us were focused in and just.
I will play with the right people anytime. Because it's a game you need people that aren't going to like, because you can AP it, and that's why it has a I think a bad reputation.
Right.
Unfairly, because whenever I've played it with you, we've been pretty efficient with it, and we played it with our friend Sam and Becca as well. And that was the game where I think we're at Level Up, and Alex Radcliffe was like, oh, this was a long game, and he came by, and then we're like 2.5 hours later, we're packing up. He's like, oh, you guys give up? We're like, no, we just finished the game. He's like, how? Like we just trucked along. Great game.
That's a fantastic game. Yes, that's my number 2.
Number 1, our number 1 game of all time for Edge of both of us. My number 1 is a new to me game, actually, earlier this year. But I have
mine.
But I've played it quite a bit. I've played it solo, a lot 2-player. I've played I think 1 or 2 4-player games and a few 3-player games. So pretty much every player count, I think. Not every, I haven't played 5-player, and I'm worried about that because I think it'll drag on a bit. This scratches the Euro itch for me. Like I really love that it does that well, and it also does Dudes on a Map for me, which is an older type of game I like to do, where I'm fighting things, and it's kind of like Cthulhu, where I'm like I get to do both. I get to play my fun Euro and do this. Very thematic game, and it is the best game that ever does, and I never thought I'd have top of my list a semi-cooperative game.
Got it.
But this,
a while I was like, what is this one?
This is The Great Wall. I adore this game. It again, for me, it is I get to place our workers, but then we get to kill the invaders. Like, and you get to throw guys on the wall. Again, it's a kitchen sink type scenario where I want all my expansions. I want the rat fun little thing. I want the Genghis Khan. I want to use the black powder stuff is so much fun. Where you get asymmetrical units now, and it's just like, I like a game where, like, as a semi-cooperative, it makes sense from like we will all get negative victory points if we don't work together.
Right.
So we want to we want to have the most honor at the end of the game, the most VP, but it's delightful and it's gorgeous. The game is
It is very
looks great on the table.
very pretty. Yeah, so this is one that we will disagree with a lot.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
Oh, I love it.
that's it. Like it's good. But I will never be the one that says yes, let's play that.
No, fair enough. I absolutely adore it.
But yeah, no, it is a fantastically made game. Don't get me wrong. I think that it is very, very well designed. It's just one of those games that the design just doesn't work for me entirely. But that is not to say that there's anything wrong with the design.
No, yeah, I
it's
love
a
it.
very tight economy. They thought through a lot of things. No, it's a fantastic game.
My only criticism, honestly, for me has been the rule book over time. But that's I've through iteration because a lot of it, some of the writing is just odd in it.
Awakened Realms gets that a lot. Their rule books are not amazing.
I was just playing a tiny epic the other night, and it's like I'm like, guys, this isn't this complicated. Why do we write it this way?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that's my number one, The Great Wall.
So my number one of all time is also new to me this year. I've played it solo a whole bunch. We've played it 3-player twice and 4-player once. The only thing I really want to add to it still is there is a
Asymmetry.
yeah, there's an asymmetry or a semi cooperative kind of sort of. So this is going to be let's start a game on Mars. I know, space themed game, shocker. But it is just so good. I love the balance between being in space, being on the ground, what actions you can take, the way that the workers work, because sometimes you have to like let the workers actually work there and they stay there until you come back down to that area, which is really nice. You don't get them back like when you leave, so it's got like the passage of time type of feel to it. So that expansion I was talking about that we need to add in is one player can play as the aliens, which I think can either be really, really fun or just awful, but I'm really excited to find out which it's going to be. I played a little bit with the expansion, which the solo variant of the expansion, which I did not like because it made it into crisis management, which is not for me. But if you do like crisis management, it is a great way to add that into this experience. Really, really solid game. I'm very interested to see where it lands in terms of that versus Shackleton.
Yeah.
As time goes on, because I do agree with you, there's a lot about Shackleton that I do like a bit better. I've just played on Mars so many more times at this point.
No, absolutely. I mean, for me, I like On Mars. I think for me, for Lacerda, it's, and again, I've only played it 2 or 3 times, but
I've played it 3 times, yeah.
No, I mean, I was comparing to, not that you should really compare a lot of Lacerdas, but
So
Lisboa still for me is a little bit higher.
those two can compare pretty well
And then
in terms
I know we talked about Escape Plan is not really.
Yeah, Escape Plan. I love Escape Plan. It's just hard to rank it against the rest of the Lacerdas because it plays so differently than the rest of the Lacerdas. It's not a worker placement game.
Well, I only think people think about it because it's one of those big box games. So it's like, but it's just it's like easily like a whole point lower.
Yeah.
Complexity wise.
Yeah, so fantastic game, but yeah, very different category. Anyways, so that's my number one of all time, On Mars.
Yeah, so exhaustive list for you to go through of our top 10 games of all time. In a year, we'll revisit this. Maybe our up-and-comers will have done some damage. Maybe some other new games in 2025 will shake that list up, or just through general play, we will find.
As always, I will add, or I will lose multiple hours of my life for you by adding links to each of these games that I can get links for. Most of them we should be able to get links for. I don't think we have any on here that are like out of print. Nope, I think we did pretty good about that. So I'll get you some links in there so you can check them out if you're interested in that. Let us know what your favorite games are, or let us know why you think our top 10s are awful.
Awesome. Well, with that, we wish you good luck with all of your future board game adventures.
And thank you for joining us on ours.